Yes, welcome back to the No State Project here on my YouTube channel, No State Project. I'm your host, Mark Stevens. Website, of course, is markstevens.net. And I want to thank everyone for their continued support. Not everyone, of course, it's tough times, but the little support that we have at the show, or I have at the show, I do appreciate it. If you like to be able to help support the show, you can do so at markstevens.net and at markstevens.cells.com. And a lot of stuff to get to today. I got to tell you, before we jump into it, because I do want to talk about ethics, and that's what we're going to be taking. I'm going to be taking calls for. So it looks like we're starting to get lined up with calls. So I am going to indulge your patience there for a few minutes here. Not related to the show, and it's an old story, but it kind of leads into what I want to talk about. I actually just found out about this. This is a story from last year, and it's Kenneth Copeland, and he's one of these televangelists, and I've mentioned him recently. I just didn't use his name, that he was going to heal people of the coronavirus through the TV. That's not even the craziest thing that I've heard about this guy, because the craziest thing that I've heard this guy spout. Well, that's Kenneth Copeland's all right. This is a different one. Rick Wiles is got something even crazier than that. And again, I just heard of this, so it's new to me. And there's a lot of memes about it. That's how I heard about it. I saw something about it today. But Kenneth Copeland, he's the one that's going to heal people through the TV. He's also the maniac, the cretin who said that even if you've lost your job, if you don't, due to the economic slowdown because of the corona hoax, keep paying him. Guy who's got a private jet, got to keep paying him, even if you've lost your job. But Rick Wiles, my gosh, this is crazy. He is saying that meat alternative companies, like Beyond Meat and Impossible, Gardein. Rick Wiles is suggesting that such meat alternative companies are trying to create a new food. They're trying to create the new foods in an effort to alter human DNA in order to cause human beings to no longer technically be classified as humans, a plot that would make it impossible for them to be saved by Christ, he says. Wiles believes people soon will not even be given the choice of real or meatless foods, and that fast food restaurants will make the switch without giving customers an option to keep their diet in place. When you go to your favorite fast food restaurant, you're going to be eating a fake hamburger, Wiles said in a video clip. You're going to go to the grocery store and buy a pound of fake hamburger or fake steak, and you won't know that it was grown in some big corporation's laboratory. Wiles added that he believes that this is a nightmare world that seeks to change God's creation. Meatless companies want to be God. The ultimate goal, Wiles believes, is to bring more people to Satan. Wow. God is, quote, watching these Luciferians destroy this planet. Sounds like Alex Jones. Destroy the animal kingdom, destroy the plant kingdom, change human DNA. Wiles said, why? They want to change human DNA so that you can't be born again. Wow. That is some real hardcore. I'm going to have to put the link so you guys can see. This is... I'm sure that this guy is pretty wealthy. These televangelists tend to be, insanely rich. Wow. That is just crazy. So, and you've got this pastor in Louisiana who runs one of these mega churches, they're called. His name is Tony Spell. And there was criminal action against him because he continued to have large crowds at his church. I heard a report yesterday that one person at a funeral in a small town in Georgia wound up causing an outbreak in the entire town. One person going to a funeral and interacting with all those people. So you look at, since I did the show 3 days ago, I did, I guess, on Saturday, 4 days ago, March 28th, I guess. Today's April 1st. We've had almost another doubling of the numbers of COVID cases and deaths. So in the United States, it's being reported as of today, 186,101. The total deaths are 3,603. So we're not even close to flattening the curve, as they say, and getting this thing under control. Not even near that. And when you've got people, having funerals and a lot of people participating, if you've got these pastors, religious groups that continue to have large public groups, it's not going to work out too well. No wonder it's doubling, because not enough people are actually using common sense, washing your damn hands very often, and not being in large groups, and only going out when it's necessary. That's too much. So they feel that God will protect them. Yeah. Just like that pastor who said, I reported last week, who said the coronavirus was a hoax to hurt the impeached president's election. It was all a hoax, and it killed him. I thought God was working, and they were talking to God, just like the owner of Hobby Lobby saying that God actually spoke to him and told him to stay open. That's right, because God, if there is a God, is going to turn around and be more concerned with Hobby Lobby staying open. My gosh. So that's where we are now. So we would expect by the Saturday show that there could be over 300,000 cases and 6,000 deaths. I'll see what the numbers are. I know we're going to get the calls. Some people, it's all a hoax. All a hoax. I'm not saying my caller or whoever I spoke, the guys who I spoke on the phone, on the show on Saturday, believe that. But there are people like Alex Jones who believe the entire thing is a hoax. It's just the flu. It doesn't matter that independent scientists world over disagree that this is an extremely strong virus, in that it survives outside the body a lot longer. And you are asymptomatic far longer than with the regular flu. It's, even if you say it's just a strain of flu, it's all another strain. It's far, far worse. It's the globalists turning the frogs gay. The globalists. CFR. Wake up, people. All right, we got area code 818. Well, let me mute it. Whoa. Smack myself in the face there. Let's see. We got area code 818. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where you calling from? Shows that I'm connected. Yeah, I'm connected. I got no audio from 81. Oh, it's 815. Sorry. 815. I think it's one of these guys. No? Area code 815. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where you calling from? No, it's not my headset, so I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, J-Back saying scientists, the world order agreed the Earth was flat. What scientists? There may be a handful of scientists who don't know real science. JC, man, Mark, get with the program, man. LOL. I I thought I thought I was, but do we have area code 815 now? Okay. We'll give that another shot. We'll see if we can get them up. I'll mute that out. I don't know why I'm not getting any audio, but if you are if you were on the line and you heard me, let me know in the chat. He says, I don't know why I'm not coming through. I'll try again. Yeah, well, okay. Well, scientists have been wrong, obviously, but usually scientists are going based on facts. They're going based on experiments. It's like people who still to this day doubt that even the science behind vaccines. Even if you look away from the whole thing about they're putting dead baby cells in and they're putting poison in here, or it's causing all that other Alex Jones garbage. You set that all aside. There are people that don't believe in the science, the idea that if you inject into the body a weakened form of a virus, let's say, that the body's natural resources, then your immune system will not then overcome that and create antigens or antibodies that will in the future be able to defend against that. There are people who don't even believe that. So even aside from all that, they don't even believe that that is possible. Hell, there are people, well, I guess you got Christian scientists who think that no medicine is valid. So yeah, scientists have been wrong. There have been theories that have been wrong, but the theory based on the understanding and the instruments and what they knew at the time worked out. It wasn't something you were just making up. It wasn't this televangelist type crap that you can heal people through the TV screen. It's not this garbage that if you just have enough crystals, if you have the right crystals, it's not this crap that you got to have a certain essential oil and that there's an essential oil that will that's a cure-all. Just rub lavender on the baby's chest and that fever will go down. I actually know people that had these parties that sold the essential oils. I mean, it's that for everything known to man, there was a cure with essential oils. Oh, you've got cancer? What type? There's an essential oil for that. So yeah, are scientists going to be wrong today? Yeah, sure. But like I've said, before regarding the notion that this is entirely a hoax. No. Somebody went and posted here. This is what I wanted to get to. I got two questions. LM is saying, I saw some of you have relatives who contracted COVID-19 and thankfully recovered famously. Does anyone actually know someone personally who became gravely ill or died from it? Seems like I only see that on the news. No one I know knows of anyone firsthand. Well, do you know anybody firsthand who died in Vietnam? Do you know anybody firsthand who died in World War II? How many people do you know with personal firsthand information that had family die in Syria? I didn't know my brother's mother-in-law personally. I never met the woman. I never met my brother's in-laws. But his mother-in-law did pass away last week. So that's the closest. So I don't have someone I know personally yet. I'm sure we're all going to. We can all, maybe a lot of us can point to right now that there is somebody that we knew or we know somebody who knows somebody who died from it. But this personal knowledge of something is really good, of course. But there's going to be a lot of situations where we don't have personal knowledge, where we have to go based on what other people are reporting. Does anyone have personal firsthand knowledge of anyone dying in the 1918 pandemic, flu pandemic, where over 600,000 people just in the United States died? A lot of people's great-grandparents probably did. I mean, I do a lot of genealogy work, and you always have this thing where people from the I do a lot in New York. People from the kids from the 2015 New York census are not on the federal census in 1920 because so many people died. I'm sure you had your Alex Jones types then back there too. It's all a hoax. It's just for the money trust. It's all Rockefeller, eugenics. You're just trying to get rid of it. Maybe it got out of control. It's globalists. Oh, and someone's saying, I see you guys mentioning that doesn't matter. I'm so sick. I am so, and I'm so sick to death of crazy, not only crazy. Someone, they're back on. All right. We'll see if we can get them back on. I don't know what the hell's going on with my audio. I tested everything before, but I should be able to hear you. All right. So we're going to try again for one of those guys. One of those. All right. Do we have one of those guys live on the show? No, we got nothing. No, I don't think I have a bad channel all of a sudden. Yeah, let me see. I am connected, right? Yeah, I'm connected. And he already said he doesn't have Skype, so I guess I have a dead caller line. I don't know why I'm not getting any audio, but it's kind of par for the course for the show. So if somebody wants to join me on Skype, then we can do a call that way. But apparently, I can't really diagnose it to troubleshoot it right now during a live broadcast. So it's not like the only time we've had something like this happen. But everything is good to go as far as my settings. So I don't know why that is happening. Yeah. Well, what we can do is you can put your comment, type your comment out. I know it sucks to do it that way, but we don't have any of the choice here. So someone's telling me, Mark, look up Dr. Andrew Kaufman. It's just like, it's just another one of those Mercola guy, like the Mercola or the natural health, the health ranger guy. Just have a look up Andrew Kaufman. So he must be one of these that are saying that he's got proof. It's not Andrew Kaufman. Is I guess I got to get it's Dr. I got to get Dr. Kaufman Center for Dermatology Care. There's a lot of Andrew Kaufmans. So this looks like a thoracic surgeon. There's a dermatologist. So I don't know what you guys are trying to. All right. So now J-Back is on the line. Okay. We'll see. Because it might be my headset. So, but I'm checking. No, it's not the headset because it's not coming through the mixer. So even if it wasn't, okay. So we've got 907. Is this J-Back?
Yes, it is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear. So I think this was an issue of one of these guys.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. That's why I kind of called in to see if it was a technical problem on his end.
Well, it's nice that it's not a technical issue on my part.
Yeah, your headsets are even working, right?
These broken $4 special, Walmart special. Yes, they all working just fine.
Okay, so anyways, now, Mark, you're telling us that what the government's telling us is true and correct. Is that correct?
Well, I get that.
World pandemic, and we should all be worried about it.
I believe that part of it's true, yeah.
And what leads you to believe that?
Like I mentioned before, there are a lot of independent reports and people are posting videos of hospitals being overwhelmed. You have doctors and nurses that are reporting, just like early on back in January. I think it was January, even maybe late December. You had Chinese doctors.
Yeah, well, you ever watch Tucker Carlson on Fox?
I will watch some commentary about him, but I won't watch his show. I think he's I think he is a I don't think of him as a very good source of anything but propaganda.
Yeah, well, he illustrated a falsity by the mainstream media over in this country when they illustrated the overcrowded hospitals in, I believe it was Chicago or New York, with a photograph from a hospital in France or Spain, those two. So I kind of have my doubts as to the veracity of most of the mainstream reporting. I think it's a power grab or a money grab or something.
Oh, well, they certainly they've admitted never let any tragedy go to waste. You know, I forget the actual phrase, but yes, they will take advantage as not just as a power grab. There's no doubt. I mean, look what they're trying to do. Two things that are huge right now. Huge. They want to suspend habeas corpus, and they want to end online encryption. Holy crap, that is monstrously evil. There's no doubt but you could still say the same thing. Well, the mainstream press is reporting that. How do you know they're really wanting to suspend habeas corpus? Maybe they're just trying to make Bill Barr and the impeached president look bad because it's the left-wing radical communist, agenda with the media. So that's why.
I don't know, I mean, is that a fact, or did you hear it on CNN? You know what I mean?
Well, the reporting on them wanting to suspend habeas corpus was on multiple. There was more than one source. Could all those sources be lying? Yeah, they should. They actually could be. But you can actually find they actually have documents to prove that. Could the documents be fake? Yeah. Hey, if you really want to go, how do we know that Bill Barr even exists? He could have died back at the in '92 with the Iran Contra controversy, and it's all a deep fake. I saw a video where well, I'm saying he could have died in '92, and it's all fake right now. I saw a deep fake video today where, except for even done by an amateur, he said it took 170 hours to do a 2-minute, not even a 2-minute clip of The Office. And what he did was he made every single person Michael Scott, their face, just the face, not the hair or anything else. So I've seen some pretty convincing deep fakes. So it could be argued Donald Trump died, 3 years ago, and it's not even him. And I could sit here even on April Fool's Day and I could say that, and I could start spouting crap like Alex Jones, and my numbers would skyrocket because there are people that are going to believe that. But
I started learning about all this stuff popularly from Alex Jones until I realized, well, he's just a gatekeeper kind of, but. But I mean, that's an introduction to a lot of people. You go on Alex Jones's show, get some exposure, Mark.
Oh, I would never go on Alex's show ever again, even if he had a platform right now. The guy was a terrible he's a terrible interviewer. All right, let's say I was on the show for, let's say, 10 minutes of airtime. He didn't shut up for 8.5 minutes of that. And even when I did say something, he just talked right over me anyway. People have said to me way before he started getting into this crap that literally every single shooting is fake, which now just cost him $150,000 in attorney's fees just at the pretrial level, which I got to tell you guys, if you're getting hit with $150,000 in attorney's fees before you go to trial, good Lord, I would say, here's some advice: settle immediately and cut your losses. So even before he started that, I wanted nothing to do with Alex Jones. People say, oh, you got, so-and-so, is doing it, and he's, his numbers are huge. I didn't care. Well, I didn't want to associate with.
Consider he's a stepping stone.
I thought that, and that's why I did the show back in 2006, which was a train wreck. And even though I was on that show, J-Back, it did not do a single thing really to help the numbers of the show. It did. I was on. Look, I used Alex Jones as a stepping stone to get on to Coast to Coast because I was stunned that they had Alex Jones on Coast to Coast, and I did Coast to Coast, and it was the smallest show. But hey, 150 affiliates is a nice number, and even and I've had the biggest response, the biggest single response to any show that I ever did was not Coast to Coast. It was Free Talk Live.
Really? Coast to Coast didn't affect audience.
No. Coast to Coast was a disaster as far as it was a complete and utter failure to. And I almost never talk numbers on the show. I sold like 3 books from doing that show. It was a complete failure. And when you have, I think it's because the host was so negative towards me, and he attacked every time we would go into a break. Because the guests can hear that too. He would attack me.
Well, whoever scheduled you on there ought to be fired.
Well, the one who I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was the one that she produced for all of Coast to Coast, and she liked the material. It was Art Bell and George Norrie that absolutely refused. She says, "Mark, I have tried. Every so often every time you call me, I'll get back with them. They're adamant. And the one time she says, you know what? We can get you on Ian Punnett's show." Oh, well, that's cool. At the time, I didn't realize Ian Punnett was even a host of Coast to Coast. I didn't realize it was a show that came on before the main show. So I thought I was just going to do a morning show in Minneapolis. So I found out, I was like, wow, I told my wife, I was like, holy crap, I just booked Coast to Coast. This is going to be huge. Nope.
Well, Mark, I don't have much else to say. I probably ought to hop off of here. And do you have anybody else in the caller line?
One of these guys is trying again. So
okay, well, I'm gonna hang up and see if he can see if he's got his technical problems fixed.
Okay. Well, it's always good talking with you, my friend.
Oh, same here, Mark. Have a good day.
You too. Right. We will try one of these guys again, because we know now we've got direct evidence to prove not my fault. But
Mark.
Hey, I don't know what what was the problem? Do you know?
Oh yeah, I had loopback audio taking control of my mic.
I have no idea what that means, but okay.
Oh, it's just a mixer program, but I got it all sorted out. Anyhow, first time, long time, calling from the legal fiction of Illinois.
Well, hold on. Is Illinois the legal fiction, or is state of Illinois the legal fiction?
Well, semantics, I guess. But anyhow, what's your position on?
Wait a minute. We got plenty of time here, tough guy. That's not semantics. I mean, you can accuse me of equivocation.
The geographical landmass known as the geographical landmass known as Illinois.
But that's what
political fiction of Illinois.
Right, but that's what we know Illinois to be, is a geographic area.
Yeah. But anyhow, I tuned in a little bit late to your last show, and I wasn't exactly clear on what your position regarding ethics during this pandemic was.
I don't think I necessarily even got to discuss that, because I wanted to have a discussion on that and what it would entail. And I took some calls, and the calls didn't go anywhere. I had posed the question, but I didn't have, I'm pretty certain that's why you're not remembering it, because I'm pretty certain we didn't actually get to a discussion on what the ethics would be. So I just posed the question.
All right. Well, and I guess in the nature of Socratics, I mean, I have some questions for your questions.
Okay,
But,
well,
are we obliged to act ethically?
are we
I know
obliged?
it's preferable. But
I think it's in our self-interest to do so. Are we obliged? That's it's a good philosophical question. I would say that if we're interested in our own self-interest, then yeah, because acting unethically is going to certainly not be always in our best interest, because we're going to meet somebody who's not going to tolerate it, and it could wind up very ugly for us.
yeah, that's a fair position and a fair assessment. I'm just curious. Does in your mind, do you think anyone owes you anything?
I think people owe each other and me and others the reciprocal obligation of not causing harm. The ethical
One thing, and
principle
I
of living honestly, injure no one, give every man his due. I think
yeah, I mean, ideals are peaceful and history is violent. But the thing is, I'm not of the mind that anyone owes me anything, right? My safety, nothing. I'm responsible for everything I do in my own life. And, to think that someone owes you anything other than that, I think we're remiss in thinking so.
So it's every man for himself, and nobody owes you even a common courtesy of not hurting you.
No, they don't. I'd much prefer that they didn't. And I'll act in prudence to where I wouldn't act in that manner either. But no, I don't think anyone owes me my safety or not attacking me, right? Because people attack me whether or not I think they owe me. I'd rather they didn't, but such is life.
Well, they may not actually, in a even a philosophical sense, owe you anything, and it may just be that this is a preferable way, that the ethical way, and what is in everyone's best interest is to act accordingly, to not hurt one another, to act in a manner that doesn't injure, to live honestly, injure no one, give every man his due.
All right. Now that leads me to question as to whether your position might be that, how do I frame this on a PG show? Would it be your position that, or can we agree that our safety is our responsibility? And if we go out into a society that has an ailment, whether it be a virus or some messed up thinking, is there any way we can mandate actions of others?
Well, no, I'm not someone that thinks that the barrel of a gun, but it raises an interesting question. What is available ethically to a community to protect themselves? So, I think, I'm not trying to avoid the question. I just want to get a little more context so that we can have a broader discussion on it. Because that's something that people have hit me with.
Yeah, I think we're both charitable in this exploration of ideas, and yeah, I can't follow the line of thought that anyone owes me my safety or I owe them, right? I understand preferable behavior being, we don't want to harm others and we don't want others to harm us. And another point that comes up is intent, right? Intent has little to do with ethics.
Intent has almost everything to do with ethics. Intent, I'm sorry. Intent does have almost everything to do with ethics.
I can't say as I agree. I think the actions have everything to do with ethics. But if I intend in my mind's eye that you trip over a sidewalk, that doesn't manifest in reality, right?
Well, the intention behind, yeah, well, obviously the intention coupled with the action, it's like the difference between a tort and a crime. It's, I don't think you can separate the two. If there's something that someone didn't intend, they didn't go out of their way to make it happen, and they took precautions a reasonable person would take, that situation did not happen. Is it unethical if, and to hold that as an unethical act if that happened? And I think ethics comes down to your choice. It's just like the choice that I was talking about in one video. You have a choice. You can throw your garbage on the ground, or you can throw it in a trash bag. So when you have that choice, that's when it becomes ethical or unethical. And I think that to try to separate intent from that, I think that I'm open to hearing how you can separate the two.
All right. Well, if someone was infected with, say, the flu, and they came to work, they were asymptomatic, but they were infected with the flu, and they gave you the flu because they were working shoulder and shoulder with you, would you see that as an act of aggression?
No, I wouldn't necessarily say it as an act of aggression, but you have to look at, in a situation currently that we're in, when guidelines from scientists, not just government, is 6 feet. That's why you can go to the store and you can see where they've got things on the floor about keeping your distance. So I think if science, and that you should be 6 feet away, and you're not paying attention to that, and then I think there is some ethical culpability there.
Now, I can see ethical culpability. Say someone was infected with the HIV, right? And they went around having unprotected sex, right? They knew they were infected. That's culpable. That's an act of aggression, right? But when you don't know whether or not you have this contagion and you act within society, I think we can agree that's not necessarily an act of aggression. And I get your aspect where you think if someone comes too close to you and poses or increases a risk of hazard, then that could be somehow tacitly seen as an act of aggression. And I'm not trying to strongman your position. Is that?
No, I think that if someone doesn't know, but here we're in a situation where the scientists across, multiple sources are letting us know that they, unlike the regular flu, which manifests symptoms within, 24 to 48 hours. This is more like 10 days to 14 days. So knowing that, well, let me finish. If knowing that you could have it because you have been out, I think it's ethical to act appropriate. The ethical position of mine, at least, is that knowing that I have to limit my interaction with people, and if I have to interact with people in public, keep at least 6 feet away. If I walk up and give somebody, and shake their hand, I think that's crossing an ethical line in this climate.
Well, last week you were sort of getting bent because you were bringing in, or people were bringing up this whole idea of, well, the government this and the government that, and now you're going to bring in the authority of these physicians, right? And it's a mixed bag. Not every physician is on board with the idea that this COVID is much more than a strain of pneumonia, right? It has the same respiratory ailments, etc. So it's not unanimous. And I know appeal to popularity, bandwagon policy, appeal to authority. We're appealing to all these things to formulate our arguments, when I think the gist of it, or the crux of it, is really, are you responsible for your own actions? Are you responsible for your own safety? And, if you think that someone is beholden to you by some social contract, I just don't see that really being analogous with the idea of anarchism, which is personal responsibility. If we want to act within society, knowing the perils of this virus abound, that is on us, right? And we should definitely do the most prudent thing stay away from the elderly. Be careful of the distance that people do accumulate around you, right? These things are within the realm of the ethics standpoint, right? However, when we bring in some quote unquote empirical data, which, you know, the evidence isn't even in, right? Science has never settled. And at this point in the game of the understanding of this particular strain of virus, we can't say with a definitive one way or another. I'm sure a lot of the physicians say one thing, but it's not unanimous. So I reserve my skepticism in this. And I am of the mind that it is a real virus. It does have perils associated with it. And no one, absolutely no one, is responsible for my health. I am the sole responsibility in that regard.
Yeah, but you did agree that you're responsible for your actions.
Yes,
and
I agree to that.
Okay, so if we're taking an action that puts others at risk, is that ethical or unethical?
In my eyes, it's as ethical as the other actors that put me at risk on the daily, right? I get in my car and drive down the road. Perils abound, dude. It's just a sad, sorry part of life. People interact with each other in an ignorant and unaware way. So at the end of the day, I alone am responsible for my safety.
Okay. But that's not, the question was in a broad sense. If you're responsible for your actions and you do something that endangers others, that would be unethical, right?
Only if I'm doing it knowingly and willingly.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. Well, right. That's why we discussed about intent and that you had a choice. And here, knowing what the numbers seem to be and getting independent reports, okay, and my wife said that hospitals now, they have to every day, they have to report the numbers to the CDC. Every single hospital. And knowing that there's something really bad going on, that this, you know, even if the numbers are, and we know from China that they're not reporting nearly what they're supposed to be. So if anything, the actual numbers are far higher than what are being reported. But knowing that there are transmittable diseases and viruses, if we know that, and you know, pretty much everyone's seen, you know, I guess there's going to be a few people that don't have internet, but the majority of people do now know the social distancing, quarantine, and if you got to go out 6 feet, at least 6 feet away. So if you violate that knowingly, that would be unethical, right?
I can't make that connection, right? Because if we're talking about looking at China and this and that, right? These are known lying liars. And yeah, I know you were averse to this aspect before, but look at the convenient timeline with this virus, right? Hong Kong was up in arms and they were rioting in the streets over their unfair treatment. And lo and behold, what quelled this seemingly overnight? It was this specter, right? And H.L. Mencken says it best, right? The urge to save humanity is almost always a false front for the urge to rule. And I get it. Perils abound. And these things do have negative consequences on humanity. And I can't come to the idea that anyone owes me any security when I'm out grocery shopping or this and that, right? I do so recognizing that my safety is in my hands. And if people get too close, man, I'll sidestep and shuffle to get that distance, right? I don't want a sneeze on the back of my neck and, you know, next thing I know, I got the COVID or whatever they're calling it, right? So, I won't keep you. I think I've chewed up a lot of your show here, but
we're having a good discussion. You don't go yet. I think
I'm not trying to run off either.
I didn't say that.
Humility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, but it's very rare that we can have a discussion like this. I was not able to do this on the last show. The thing is, it's not something that came out of thin air. This has been a problem for a very long time. It's very similar to SARS. I read that from that paper that was done by doctors, immunologists, or virologists back in 2007, October of 2007. They were warning since 2007, okay? Oh, damn near, let's say 13 or 12 and a half years. They were warning about this. And it's in writing. You can't fake a lot, but there's date stamps and stuff. If it was just done a few weeks ago, somebody would be able to show that. They were warning about the culture in southern China of eating exotic mammals, they call them. And it was a time bomb. So I don't buy the argument that it just suddenly happened. They were warning about it all this time. Now, is it possible that the globalists that want China to be the only world power, just throwing that out, that because of what was going on in Hong Kong, they suddenly just decided to release this weaponized version of it?
Well, that's given some extent of danger associated with this, right? But look at all the specters that government menaces us with, right? H1N1, the bird flu, swine flu, MRSA, SARS, all of these things, and they are definitely the boy that cried wolf. And if you look at the totality of this thing, all of these things that are coming out of this distraction of this latest quote unquote pandemic, right? $6 trillion out of thin air, right? And I don't know if you've seen that 60 Minutes interview with the talking head for the Fed, but that dude says, oh, don't worry about the cash in the ATM, it's safe, right? And the Fed has an infinite supply of money. And that scares me way more than any little virus or bug or cold, pneumonia, flu, whatever, right? That's
really
more pernicious to humanity. Yeah, by far and away.
Well, if you look back,
yes,
if you look historically,
much more scary.
Yeah, but if you look back historically, the damn 1918 flu epidemic killed more people than the war did. And that was one of the most brutal, deadly wars in history. And the swine flu, the Spanish flu, was far and away a bigger killer than the war. And if you've got something like that that's killing so many people, it's like this whole thing about some of these Republicans coming out saying, well, just go out. If it kills grandma, it doesn't matter. The economy can't fail. I get that that there are some nefarious things that are being done in the name of protecting us. I'm right with you on that. I've been shouting out from the rooftop to 51 people at a time for years. I get it. I just don't believe that everything is fake. It's like the example I gave. Was the Vietnam War real? Oh, hell yes, it was real. Were the reasons for starting it with the Gulf of Tonkin? No, that was fake. It was just like the Spanish-American War. That was a false flag that started that. I get that. That doesn't mean that the war itself was fake, or that everything that was reported was fake, even in the the golden era of yellow journalism. But here, as far as ethics, if we know that there's a chance, because we could be asymptomatic, and because we've been out in public, we've interacted with people, we've gone and gotten gas. Just getting gas could be enough to be infected. If we know that there's a chance, I think ethically we should limit our exposure and only do things that are necessary, and take the precautions that if we are going to go out, take some necessary precautions to limit our exposure, which would then limit the spread of the virus. Because it's like they say, the basic common sense. Viruses are not what spread. They don't spread themselves. We're the incubators. We're the ones that are spreading it. It only gets to be worldwide because we're traveling and interacting with people. So that's what I was getting to last show, was that if we know that there's a chance, just that there's a chance, We should take the necessary precautions. It's just like maybe I'll make someone's head explode. That would be nice. It's just like if you run a business and there is even a chance that there might be litigation, you have to preserve your records. You can't just start shredding them. If there's just a chance that there could be litigation. So if you're and you build your Acme and you're only one of 100 things who produce widgets, and 3 other widget producers have been sued, you now have to preserve your records because there's a chance that litigation could arise. So you have an ethical obligation not to destroy the records. So here, I think it's the same thing, really, because there's a chance you could be infected or that you could get infected and then unwittingly bring it back to your house. You should take some precautions to limit or eliminate the chance of that happening. That's all I was getting to.
And I'm in agreement with you insofar as, we should take precautions to limit or mitigate exposure to this thing, right? My 75-year-old mother lives across town, and since this outbreak, I haven't visited her because I do go out and about and do my things that I need to throughout the day, right? I just, and I can totally agree with that aspect. But once you start imposing your will on others and saying, well, you shouldn't go out because flatten the curve, or you shouldn't go out because this and that, right? Nature is a cruel mistress. And if she's going to call the herd, she's going to call the herd. It doesn't matter how much penicillin or Listerine or hand sanitizer you use, right? She's going to do what she's going to do. But the thing that I keep in the back of my mind is, and Mencken seems to be popping up so much lately, but the whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed and hence clamorous to be led to safety by menacing it with an endless series of hobgoblins. All of them imaginary, right? Sure, we need to mitigate these things. Sure, we need to do what we can and what's prudent to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe. However, I can't justify imposing my will on someone else in furtherance of my safety, because my safety is my responsibility, mine and mine alone. So,
well,
go ahead.
I'm going to have to go ahead and disagree with you there when you say that nature is going to cull the herd and nothing you can do to stop it. And that's not actually true, because if you look just in the United States during the 1918 pandemic, there are examples of cities that did shut down and it didn't decimate the city. And you have the example of Philadelphia. And this is, maybe that's right around the time Frank Rizzo was born. And Philadelphia wound up having this big parade. They ignored all the warnings. And they had this big parade anyway. And the city was decimated. I mean, they were one of the hardest hit cities. And you have international examples where I think it was in the Pacific. I think it was Fiji. There was an island in the Pacific that absolutely refused to allow anybody to get off a ship. And they suffered no deaths, no illnesses, no deaths. They had nothing. But New Zealand, of course, didn't do that. And it was decimated. They got hit pretty damn hard. So I have to look up to see exactly which one it was. But it was near the Samoan Islands or Fiji. So one of them absolutely cut off, and in the whole island, the whole nation, they self-quarantined and didn't let any outsiders in and didn't suffer any flu deaths. So you can take precautions to mitigate or even avoid being infected. So I got to disagree with you there. I just think that if we know, and we're in agreement there, if there's a chance that you could be infected or could get infected and bring it home, you take the necessary precautions. So what do you do in a situation though? Did let's say one city has no cases of it? Does it want any cases? Do they, as a community, get to limit the people that get to come in and out of their area, their community? Is it ethical for them to bar people from coming in until the pandemic is over?
No, it's not ethical because they don't own or control that property. And this idea of and it's a very apt example of this city falling to some illness, right? But isn't that nature and natural selection? All these idiots just ignored the warning signs and congregated in groups. However, these people on this ship were aware enough to quarantine themselves. So yeah, I think it is nature, and nature's going to do what nature damn well wants. I mean, if Mount St. Helen blows tomorrow, are we going to have a vaccine for that? I mean, nature is a cruel mistress. I know it's not really
not even
an apples to apples comparison, but still, I mean, nature's going to do what nature's going to do. And if these people are dumb enough to expose themselves to such a degree, then natural selection is going to call the herd. I'm sorry, dude. I guess I'm just a little more pragmatic.
Look, if people are going to be stupid, yeah, I get that. But the question had to do with, does a community, let's say like the Amish, do they have, so they have to, so the question, and I'm not saying I have an answer to this, okay? We're just having an ethical discussion. If people who could be infected wanted to congregate and interact with the Amish, they have no choice. They have no say in their own safety, that whoever wants to roam through their community can?
Yeah, if it's in a public setting. I mean, now, were you to wander onto an Amish property, that's a totally different thing, right? But if someone infected with the HIV, the COVID, the swine flu, and all these other things wants to saunter down their main street, then no, they have no say because they don't directly control that property. Now, once they do get on the property that this person directly controls, then they have a say. Outside of that, you have no right to impose your will on other people. I just can't. I can't get on board with the idea that you can justify imposing your will on other people.
Yeah, but isn't that what the person who may be infected and knows he may be infected, isn't he imposing himself by going into even a public area where there's no cases and they're all healthy and they don't have any, and he knowingly goes and participate and let's say goes to one of their church meetings. It's a public area. He knows he could be infected. He goes in there and he has no moral or ethical culpability for possibly infecting an entire community.
Well, and it seems like you keep acting on, and you deny it, but you keep acting under the presupposition that someone owes you something. And I can't abide with it. I mean,
okay, so even though you agree that if you know you may be infected, it would be unethical to, it would be ethical, you have to take precautions. But then you have a problem when, if I mention a situation like this, where someone knows he may be infected and goes to a public church meeting where, like examples like with the Amish, and you're saying that that it doesn't seem consistent, that he doesn't owe the Amish a damn thing. And if he knows he's infected or may be infected, it's a public area and they've got no right to limit his exposure to them.
Well, as far as the parishioners go, I mean, it's on them whether or not they want to go to that church service and expose themselves to a possibility of infection due to some random asshole who knows he's infected coming to that service, right? So at the end of the day, the responsibility, the onus will always be on the individual actor and whether or not they want to put themselves in that situation. And sure, we shouldn't, if these perils abound and they're that serious, it'd be prudent to stop going to stinking church at that point in time until, this curve flattens or whatever. We build immunities XYZ, right? But like I say, at the end of the day, the onus is always on the individual, and you can never really put that on someone else. Now, now we sort of changed it a little bit, and we're talking about someone who's knowingly infected with the COVID and goes into this church service.
Or they might be.
That becomes an act of malice and aggression at that point.
Well, sure.
Mind, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. But in that situation, what does the the people who are going to church, what actions can they take to limit their exposure to somebody who may be infected or knows he is?
Well, stop going to church. It's easy.
Oh, well, that's where you get this thing that's going on in Louisiana, where they're saying we're gonna have faith in God. We're gonna go, and He's gonna take care of us, and that's not working out too well. I am out of time, but I'm glad we will have a discussion on this.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to disparage anybody too hard, but if you have a belief in some anthropomorphized deity in the clouds, you already got something wrong with you, bro.
Well, okay, that's a time for a different discussion. We usually don't discuss the actual beliefs here on the show, but I'm glad we're able to have a discussion on this. I'm sure most people disagree with me. Well, you and we have some agreement, which is good. And I understand your position better now, and I hope you understand my position better.
I do. I'll never be able to justify imposing my will on someone else. And
I don't think I talked about that.
He said she heard, right?
Okay.
So maybe we can continue this some other time. But
we'll talk about this more in other shows. I do appreciate your call, though.
Right on.
All right, one of those guys. Appreciate that, and I'm glad. See, you can a little more faith in humanity there, in that you can have a respectful, intelligent. I think intelligent conversation on the issue of ethics. So I'm a lot of people here in the comments disagree with me, but what do you do? Mark, did you know Wuhan, China was the first place to have 5G turned on? Oh, that again. Oh, if anyone's going to say that it's a 5G illness, then you got to present some damn evidence. Got to have some evidence linking that. So, but my discussion it was strictly, I wasn't saying about imposing will. What would the community what can they do ethically, to stop somebody who may infect the entire community? This thing, no right to impose your will, but if somebody is or may be infected or knows that they are infected, or they're imposing themselves on, they are exposing other people to that. So the pendulum swings both ways, so to speak, or you got to cut the ice straight. It goes both ways. So to just turn around, I don't, well, anyway, there's some evidence of a virus because they can do tests for that. My gosh, they're one cell organisms. It's just like this whole religious thing against science and against evolution. You can use retroviruses, and I don't have any time to get into this. Maybe on the next show I can do that. You can actually use retroviruses to prove evolution. All right. I appreciate everyone tuning in. I know the numbers are getting kind of thin, but some people complaining I should just stick to my show. Those days are over. So I'll clue you in right now. I'm not talking about the usual stuff because, one, you get tired of the same damn thing every single show, and then I get the same stupid comments every single show. If anybody wants to hear about court procedure while I still have a channel, which is why I'm not doing that, go listen to the 300 prior shows that I've done. I know for a fact most of you have not heard all those shows or listened to an entire show. So if you're wanting to hear that, there are gigs worth of audio on YouTube and on my website, markstevens.net. There is absolutely no shortage of me talking about court. None. So that's just the way it is. And I'm tired of doing the same show. My show is under attack. I don't want my channel taken down, at least until I have an opportunity to defend myself. So that's the sad reality that, I do the show twice a week, and I like talking about ethics. I like talking about philosophy. I like having discussions on that. It doesn't always have to be about court. And again, I'm under attack. I don't want my channel taken down. So if you don't like this material, I put it in the show notes. Just skip the show. It's not that big a deal. Yeah, Metallica is the solution. That's, yeah, absolutely. So, all right, I do appreciate the opportunity to do the show today. I know I'll do the show on Saturday, and there may be, hopefully the trend isn't going to continue, or at least not continue much longer, because at this rate, we're going to have 1 million people infected soon. So hopefully that could actually be that like that within 2 weeks, we could have 1 million people infected. So hopefully it doesn't get to that, but I will be live on Saturday, and till then, salud.